Good morning. I'm Dan DeRosa with 19 News Now, coming to you from our digital desk. It is Thursday. That means it's time for another edition of Cuyahoga's Most Wanted. We work with the Crime Stoppers of Cuyahoga County as well as the Sheriff's Department here in Cuyahoga County. These are fugitives that have active warrants out for their arrest. They may be innocent until proven guilty, but we need them in a court of law and off our streets. That's where you come in. Don't think of this as snitching. Think of this as cleaning up our community. Think of this as stopping these crimes from happening to another individual in our area. We're going to bring in, as we always do, Detective Red Dyer with the Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Department. Detective, how are you this morning?
Excellent, Dan. How are you?
We've got another batch here, Red, and I'm going to be honest, folks, we've been doing this for a few months now. We have seen all kinds of fugitives come through here, but this case is perhaps one of the most concerning and disturbing cases we've featured. Let's go through it.
Well, Dan, our first feature is Mr. Michael Johns Jr., and we're talking two separate cases here with very serious charges: rape, gross sexual imposition, and unlawful use of a minor in nude material, to name a few, with underage victims. The reports allege that Mr. Johns Jr. raped one victim who was underage and that he had recorded these incidents on his cell phone. Even more disturbingly, one of the victims, the mother, had came home and discovered Mr. Johns Jr. in the shower with the victim. He fled the scene and was caught in the woods a few hours later near the home with just his pants on. He was put on a GPS monitor, but he ended up cutting that off. And as we've discussed in the past, people who cut off those GPS monitors do not want to be found. He actually failed to appear this month for an arraignment on a separate rape case. The second victim was actually under the age of 13 when these incidents were alleged to have occurred. I wanted to note as well, Dan, that he is a repeat violent offender and actually has an extensive violent criminal history with our Sheriff's Department, dating back to 2008, including a 2013 guilty plea to robbery. He's approximately 5'5" and 143 pounds, and was last known to be staying in the 4300 block of Northfield Road in Warrensville Heights. So if anyone's familiar with the area or has seen him, we could use some help finding him.
And that's what we're talking about not fearing calling the Sheriff's Department or putting in a tip to Crime Stoppers of Cuyahoga County. These are victims that were underage. This is a heinous crime. And whether he's on the run, whether he's hiding, or whether he's out there committing more crimes, we can stop this from happening. If you are watching this on social media, if you're watching on Facebook, if you share this video, it is yet another chance to get Johns Jr. off our streets. The next one is a drug case. We have a Sebastiano Virola. What do we know?
Well, Dan, I think it's very important that we also attempt to get drug traffickers off of the street through these tips. This actually stems from a search warrant that was executed by detectives with our department in 2018 on a residence, and it's alleged that he was trafficking cocaine. It also alleges, he was using scales and cell phones to help move the product. He actually has a history with drugs. In 2006, he pled guilty to drug possession, where indictments state that he was in possession of crack cocaine. Very serious drug. According to this most recent indictment, he's actually considered a major drug offender. And when I spoke with our narcotics unit, very talented individuals we have in our narcotics unit, I was informed that that means he could potentially be looking at a 11-year minimum sentence if he was convicted on these charges, which may explain why he doesn't want to be found. He failed to appear in 2022, and a warrant was issued for his arrest. He's approximately 6 foot and 250 pounds, and was last known to be staying in the 11,000 block of River Ave on the east side of Cleveland.
And we have seen, Red, unfortunately, what drugs do to our community. If he is out there, the chances are he could have gotten a legitimate job. He could have gone straight, but more than likely, he's probably up to old habits. Our next case, Red, we've seen assault cases come through here on a number of occasions. We've seen all kinds of weapons used, whether they're guns, knives, glass bottles, chairs. This one, a little bit different. Walk us through the case of Elizabeth Tober.
Yeah, this one was very different as I was reading the reports and the allegations in the indictment. This is an incident that's alleged to have occurred in 2021. It alleges that Ms. Tober got in an argument with a woman, attacked her, and then sicked her pit bull on the victim. and the victim was bitten on the calf of their right leg and the back of their left leg. So, I mean, that sounds like a very scary situation to me, being attacked by a dog. 5'8" and 321 pounds is her approximate size, and she was last known to be staying in the 3400 block of West 125th Street, excuse me, in Cleveland. And Dan, it's a sad situation because you really can't blame this on the dog, you know.
Yeah, and we all know and we have seen, unfortunately, pit bulls that aren't treated the right way, that aren't, kept humanely, the amount of damage that a pit bull can do. So that woman lucky to be alive. Red, people are watching this saying, why should I get involved? I don't want to call that phone number because I don't want to have to deal with this. I don't want my name anywhere. Walk us through why that is not the case.
Well, Dan, that should not be the case because we don't have caller ID, we don't record phone calls, and we don't ask for any of your personal information. We don't want any of that. You can use the number on the screen. You can contact us through our app or on the website.
And the amazing thing about that is this is a tip that can help you clean up the street. You're not going to have to show up in court. They're not going to say, well, this is how we got the tip. They just need a place, a jumping off place. Maybe you know where that person hangs out. Maybe they like to hang out at a local bar. Maybe they're working somewhere where they're getting paid under the table because they don't want to be caught and located. Any information can help. Even the smallest bit of information can help, especially in that first case. I want to put this up again just because this is such a horrendous crime. Michael Johns Jr. facing 19 counts of rape. Both of his victims, alleged victims, are minors. In one case, he was caught in the shower by one of the victim's mother. He then took off. He was caught in the woods hours later by authorities. Guess what? He was wearing just his pants. His car was later found very near the victim's home. So it proves he was there, can't run, can't hide. And then in some of the cases, using his own cell phone to record the alleged rape of a minor. How sick, how depraved does it get? That alone should tell you why we need Michael Johns Jr. off the street. This is not an individual we want in our community, clearly not abiding by the laws, and he needs to be set in front of a judge and jury and find out if he's guilty or not. Red, these are all important crimes. Any tip can help. What would you like to remind us of?
That crime doesn't pay, Dan. Crime Stoppers does.
Absolutely does. Up to a $5,000 reward if your tip leads to an arrest into Crime Stoppers. Detective, we appreciate the time. We know how important this is. We've had some pretty incredible success of getting fugitives off the street because they get shown here on social media, they get shown on Cleveland 19, and then they show up at a courtroom. Detective, we appreciate the time. Thanks today.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you. Just wanted to bring you our next set of fugitives. We have our 11 o'clock news starting in just under 10 minutes on CW 43. Then, of course, our noon news on Channel 19. And if we have any other breaking news, we're going to bring it to you here on our digital properties. Until then, I'm Dan DeRose with 19 News Now. Have a good afternoon.
19 News is everywhere.